"Evelyn, you are too fat for the wedding photo. Step out." I froze, standing there in my carefully chosen navy dress, as Carter's words hung in the air. We were gathered on the Cape May shoreline for family photos, the golden late afternoon sun casting everyone in a flattering glow. Everyone except me, apparently. "Maybe Evelyn could sit this one out," Carter continued, champagne glass in hand, addressing the photographer but speaking loudly enough for the entire wedding party to hear. "These are for the main hallway at my parents' lake house. We're going for a specific aesthetic, you know." My heart seemed to stop for a moment, then resumed with a painful thud. I looked toward my daughter, my Lacey, whom I'd raised alone after James died when she was just 8 years old. Surely she would defend me. Instead, she laughed, a nervous tittering sound that cut deeper than Carter's words. "Mom," she said, still giggling, "maybe you could check on the reception setup. Make sure everything's perfect." I felt the flush spread across my cheeks but kept my expression neutral, a skill perfected during 30 years of nursing. Around us, the bridesmaids shifted uncomfortably, though Madison, Carter's cousin, smirked openly. Donna Roberts, Carter's mother, watched with cold satisfaction in her eyes. "Of course, sweetheart," I replied, my voice steady despite the knot in my throat. "I'll handle it." As I walked away, I heard the photographer directing them into position. The perfect family portrait, without the embarrassing mother who didn't fit their aesthetic. At the reception tent, I busied myself with minor adjustments to centerpieces that needed no fixing. Each table featured arrangements I'd helped select, but that Lacey told everyone were all Donna's impeccable taste. The venue coordinator, Ben Foster, approached with clipboard in hand. "Mrs. Hart, everything looks beautiful. Your daughter will be thrilled." If only he knew how much of everything I'd secretly funded. The venue deposit, the premium catering package, half the flower budget, all quietly handled through personal checks and private conversations, allowing Lacey to pretend the Roberts family was covering most costs. "I hope so, Ben." I smoothed my dress, bought after 3 separate shopping trips to find something appropriate enough for this crowd. "When do the final vendor payments need to be processed?" "The remaining balances for the venue, extended bar service, and photography are due by 11 tonight. The catering final payment needs to be settled before tomorrow's brunch." He consulted his clipboard. "As we discussed, that comes to just over $14,000 total. The amount would drain my retirement account nearly dry, the account I'd been building since James died, leaving me with a young daughter and a mortgage, the money I'd been saving for emergencies, for my future, for Lacey's future." "I see. And if the payments aren't made by those deadlines?" Ben looked surprised by the question. "Well, services would be adjusted accordingly. Standard packages instead of premium. Early venue closure. Limited photo rights." He peered at me over his glasses. "But that won't be an issue, correct?" "No, of course not," I assured him, just confirming details. As guests began arriving for the reception, I took my assigned seat at table 9. Not the family table, but positioned near the kitchen doors with Lacey's former co-workers and a distant cousin who kept calling me Evie, though no one had ever called me that in my life. From across the room, I watched Carter's mother, Donna, directing a server with imperial confidence. She caught my eye briefly, her gaze sliding over me like I was part of the furniture. She'd been the same way during the entire wedding planning process, dismissive of my input while pretending to value it. "Isn't Lacey beautiful?" asked the woman beside me, a colleague of Lacey's whose name I'd already forgotten. "Yes," I replied honestly. She's always been beautiful. And Carter is so handsome. They make the perfect couple." She leaned closer, voice lowering conspiratorially. "I hear they're already looking at houses in Rittenhouse Square. Very exclusive." "They weren't, though. They were planning to move into my house after I died. I'd overheard them discussing renovation plans, updating that old kitchen, and finally getting rid of that hideous wallpaper in the dining room. The wallpaper James and I had put up together the year before Lacey was born. The father-daughter dance began, Richard stepping in as substitute since James wasn't here. He twirled Lacey expertly around the floor, both of them looking like they belonged in a magazine. I thought of James, who had 2 left feet, but would have danced with his little girl with so much love, it wouldn't have mattered. My phone buzzed in my small evening purse. A text from my best friend, Joan. "How's it going? Wearing that killer navy dress? Send pics." I couldn't bring myself to explain what had happened. Not yet. Instead, I typed, "Beautiful ceremony. Call you tomorrow." The toasts began. Carter's father spoke about legacy and family tradition. Carter's best man told amusing stories from prep school. Lacey's maid of honor shared carefully edited anecdotes from their college days, omitting the times I'd driven 4 hours to bring Lacey medicine during finals or helped her move apartments when her roommate situation imploded. No one asked me to speak. No one acknowledged the years I'd spent raising Lacey alone after James died. No one mentioned the double shifts I'd worked to afford the dance classes and college applications and spring break trips that helped her fit into the world she now inhabited. I was a footnote in my daughter's story, useful for what I'd provided, embarrassing for what I represented. As dinner concluded, Ben Foster approached my table again. "Mrs. Hart, when you have a moment, we need to handle those payment authorizations in the office." I rose from my barely touched meal. "I'll come now." In the small office away from the reception, Ben presented the vendor contracts and payment forms. "As we discussed, Mrs. Hart, these require your signature for processing tonight." I stared at the papers, at the sums that would deplete my careful savings. I thought of Carter's casual cruelty, of Lacey's laughter, of the decades I'd spent prioritizing my daughter's needs and wants over my own. Something shifted inside me, a fundamental realignment of loyalty. "Actually," I said, my voice steadier than I expected, "I need to make a phone call before signing these." I stepped into the hallway and dialed a number I rarely used. "Tom Granger speaking." "Tom, it's Evelyn Hart." I took a deep breath. "I need your help. Tonight." "Evelyn? Isn't it Lacey's wedding today?" Tom's surprise is evident even through the phone. "Is everything all right?" "No," I say simply. "Everything is not all right." I explained the situation concisely, the way I learned to deliver difficult news during my nursing career, the public humiliation, Lacey's laughter, the pending payments. Tom listens without interrupting, a skill I've always appreciated about him. "I want to stop all remaining payments immediately," I conclude. "And I want to discuss selling the house, first thing Monday morning." A brief silence follows. Then, "I understand. Consider the payments legally withdrawn. I'll call you first thing Monday about the house." His voice softens slightly. "I'm sorry, Evelyn. You deserve better." Those 5 words, so simple, yet they nearly shatter my composure. When was the last time someone considered what I deserved? "Thank you, Tom. I'll see you Monday." I end the call and take a deep breath before returning to Ben Foster's office. He looks up expectantly, pen poised over the payment forms. "Mr. Foster," I begin, my voice quiet but firm. I've decided not to proceed with the remaining payments." His professional demeanor slips momentarily, revealing genuine surprise. "Mrs. Hart? But the contracts clearly state." "I'm aware of what they state. I signed them." I meet his gaze steadily. "However, circumstances have changed. I will not be authorizing the premium services. This will significantly disrupt the reception," he cautions, recovering his composure. "The venue will close at 11 instead of 1. The open bar will revert to standard offerings. The photography package will be limited. I understand the consequences." Something in my tone makes him study me more carefully. "Is everything okay, Mrs. Hart?" "Perfect," I reply, surprising myself with how easily the lie comes. Just a change of plans. As I leave the office, music and laughter spill from the reception. I slip back inside, moving along the perimeter of the room to remain unnoticed. Lacey and Carter are at the center of the dance floor, surrounded by friends, champagne glasses held high. They look beautiful together, young, radiant, untouched by life's harder lessons. I make my way to a quiet corner and sit alone, turning the wedding card I'd brought over in my hands. Inside is a check, a generous gift despite everything I'd already contributed. Another sacrifice from my carefully managed savings. The card remains unsealed. The check could still be torn up. From my secluded spot, I observe the celebration with new eyes. Donna Roberts holding court at the head table, diamonds glittering at her throat as she laughs with her social circle. Carter's father clapping his son on the shoulder with proud possession. Lacey, my Lacey, moving through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting compliments and well wishes as if born to this world of privilege and performance. Perhaps she was. Perhaps the girl who once climbed into my lap during thunderstorms, who made me macaroni necklaces for Mother's Day, who cried in my arms when she didn't make the dance team. Perhaps that girl was always destined to become someone who would laugh while I was humiliated. "More champagne, ma'am." A server pauses beside me, bottle poised. "No, thank you." The single glass I've nursed all evening sits mostly untouched. I need clarity tonight, not comfort. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Joan. "Hello? Earth to Evelyn. At least tell me if they served that fancy salmon you mentioned." Joan, who has been urging me for years to stand up for myself more. Joan, who warned me that Lacey was becoming entitled, that Carter was condescending, that I was being taken for granted. I hadn't wanted to hear it then. I reply simply, "We need to talk tomorrow. In person." Her response is immediate. "My place, 10 a.m. Bringing cinnamon rolls and ready to listen." The band shifts to a slower song. Couples fill the dance floor, swaying to the romantic melody. I watch Richard dance with Donna, their movements perfectly synchronized after decades of marriage. I think of James, how we'd dance in our kitchen late at night, him stepping on my toes, both of us laughing. The kind of laughter that brings people together, not the kind that pushes them away. A fresh wave of pain washes over me, not just for tonight's humiliation, but for the slow erosion of the relationship I thought I had with my daughter. When had it started? When had I become someone to be tolerated rather than loved? When had my sacrifices become expected rather than appreciated? I slip the check from the card and tuck it into my purse. The blank card goes back into its envelope. Some gifts don't deserve to be given. The cake cutting is announced. Guests gather around the 5-tier masterpiece I'd secretly upgraded when Lacey mentioned loving the sugar flowers that were sadly outside our budget. Carter and Lacey pose with the knife, their smiles camera ready. He feeds her a small bite, careful not to smudge her lipstick. She does the same, both of them playing their parts perfectly. No one notices when I stand and gather my small evening purse. No one sees me place the empty card on the gift table. No one watches as I quietly make my way toward the exit. Outside, the evening air carries the salt scent of the ocean. Stars are beginning to appear in the darkening sky, and the distant sound of waves provides a soothing counterpoint to the music and laughter behind me. For the first time in hours, I take a full breath. "Leaving already, Mrs. Hart?" I turn to find Ben Foster stepping out for a cigarette break, his professional smile firmly in place, despite our earlier conversation. "Yes, it's been a long day." He nods, then hesitates. "The adjustments to services will begin at 10. The bar will switch to cash only, and the venue lights will flash at 10:30 to signal closing at 11. He studies me carefully. "Should I inform Ms. Lane, Mrs. Roberts now? Or would you prefer to tell her yourself?" The question hangs between us. I consider it seriously, imagining Lacey's confusion, her panic when she realizes what's happening. For a moment, the mother in me wants to protect her from consequences, as I've always done. But then I hear Carter's voice again. "Too fat for the family photos." See Lacey's laughter, feel the sting of betrayal fresh and sharp. "I'll be unavailable," I say finally. "You should follow standard protocol for contract adjustments." His expression remains neutral, but something like understanding flickers in his eyes. "Very well. Have a good evening, Mrs. Hart." As I walk to my car, I don't look back at the venue glowing with lights and celebration. I don't think about the chaos that will unfold in a few hours when the premium services abruptly end. I don't imagine Lacey's confusion or Carter's anger or Donna's embarrassment. Instead, I think about Monday morning, about Tom Granger's office, and the papers I'll sign to sell the house Lacey and Carter assumed would someday be theirs. About the life I might build with the proceeds. A life where I'm valued for who I am, not just for what I can provide. For the first time in decades, I'm choosing myself. The realization doesn't bring joy, not yet, but something more profound. A quiet certainty that I'm doing exactly what I should have done long ago. I start the car and drive away from my daughter's wedding, the road ahead dark, but somehow full of possibility. The coastal highway stretches before me, streetlights casting intermittent pools of illumination on the asphalt. I drive mechanically, muscle memory guiding me back to the small inn where I've been staying since arriving in Cape May 2 days ago. My mind feels strangely empty, as if the evening's events have hollowed me out, leaving only echoes where emotion should be. As I pull into the inn's parking lot, my phone begins to ring. Lacey's name flashes on the screen. It's only been 30 minutes since I left the reception. They must have discovered the changes sooner than expected. I silence the call and turn off the engine. The night manager nods as I pass through the lobby. "Enjoy the wedding, Mrs. Hart." "It was memorable," I reply, the understatement almost making me laugh. In my room, I slip off my navy dress and hang it carefully in the closet, though I suspect I'll never wear it again. Too many memories now clinging to its fabric. I remove my makeup, brush out my hair, and change into the comfortable cotton pajamas I've worn for years. Simple actions, a routine performed thousands of times, yet tonight they feel like a ritual, washing away one life, preparing for another. My phone continues to light up with calls and messages. Lacey, then Carter, then Lacey again. I turn it face down on the nightstand. Whatever chaos is unfolding at the reception, I'm no longer responsible for fixing it. I pull back the covers and slip into bed, but sleep remains distant. My mind keeps replaying Carter's words, Lacey's laughter, the casual cruelty of people who saw me as disposable. Beyond the hurt, beyond even the anger, lies a strange sense of liberation. All these years I've been blindly loyal to a daughter who had outgrown her loyalty to me. Around midnight, a determined knocking wakes me from a light doze. For a moment I'm disoriented, then panic grips me. Have they tracked me here? Am I about to face a confrontation? But the voice that calls through the door isn't Lacey's or Carter's. "Evelyn, it's Joan. Are you in there?" I scramble out of bed and open the door to find my best friend standing in the hallway, still wearing the floral dress she'd had on when I left her house yesterday morning. Her silver hair is slightly disheveled, her expression a mixture of concern and determination. "Joan! What are you doing here? It's midnight." "What am I doing here? What are you doing here?" She pushes past me into the room. "I've been texting you for hours." Then I get a call from Lacey, hysterical, saying you've disappeared and the wedding's falling apart. She thinks you've been kidnapped or had a stroke or something. I close the door quietly. "I'm fine, as you can see." "Fine? You leave your daughter's wedding without a word, cancel all the vendor payments from what I gathered, and then go radio silent? That's not fine. That's..." She pauses, studying my face. "That's calculated. What happened, Evelyn?" I sink onto the edge of the bed. "How did you find me?" "Please, you've stayed at the Lighthouse Inn every time you've visited Cape May for the past 20 years. It wasn't exactly detective work." Joan sits beside me. "Talk to me." So I do. The words pour out. Carter's cruelty, Lacey's laughter, the culmination of years of small humiliations and taken-for-granted sacrifices. Joan listens without interruption, her expression growing increasingly indignant. "That entitled little shit," she says when I finish. "And Lacey..." I could just shake her after everything you've done. "It's not about what I've done," I say, surprising myself with the clarity of this realization. "That's the problem. I've spent so many years defining myself by what I do for Lacey. I never noticed she stopped seeing me as a person. I became a resource, not a mother." Joan takes my hand. "So what now?" Lacey's left dozens of messages on my phone too. The wedding apparently descended into chaos. Cash bar only. Venue shutting down early. Photographer packing up during the first dance. Despite everything, a small part of me aches at the thought of Lacey's perfect day unraveling. Then I remember her laughter at my expense, and the ache subsides. "I called Tom Granger before I left," I tell Joan. "I'm meeting him Monday morning to start the process of selling the house." Joan's eyebrows shoot up. "The house? Your house?" "The house Lacey and Carter have been planning to update after I die." I can't keep the bitterness from my voice. "They've been talking about it for months. The renovations they'll make, how they'll finally get rid of the dated elements. As if the home James and I built, the place I raised her, is just an outdated asset waiting for their touch." "Good for you," Joan says firmly. "It's about time you put yourself first. What else did you and Tom discuss?" "Changing my will, setting up a nursing scholarship instead of leaving everything to Lacey." I pause. "And possibly buying a small place here in Cape May, starting fresh." Joan squeezes my hand. "I'm proud of you, Ev. It takes courage to walk away from someone you love when they're treating you badly, even when that someone is your child." "Is it courage, though? Or just self-preservation? At our age, they're often the same thing." Joan kicks off her shoes and makes herself comfortable on the bed. "I'm staying tonight, by the way. You shouldn't be alone." "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to. That's what real love looks like, in case you've forgotten." Morning brings pale sunlight and a sense of calm I haven't felt in years. Joan and I share breakfast in the inn's small dining room, planning my next steps. When I finally turn my phone back on, I have 37 missed calls and over 50 text messages. The most recent from Lacey, sent at 3:17 a.m. "Where are you? Everything is ruined." "Are you going to respond?" Joan asks, watching my face. "Not yet." I turn the phone off again. I need to get through my meeting with Tom first. Get everything in order. "She's going to be furious." "Yes," I agree. "But she's been furious with me before, when I couldn't afford the right brand of jeans in high school, when I missed a swim meet because of a double shift, when I suggested community college to save money before she got her scholarship." I sip my coffee. The difference is, this time, I'm not going to apologize for putting myself first. After breakfast, Joan heads home to feed her cat and change clothes, promising to check in later. I spend the morning walking along the beach, the rhythmic crash of waves matching the steady beat of my resolve. By noon, I feel ready to face what comes next. Tom Granger's law office is in a converted Victorian house near the center of town. He greets me with the same calm efficiency he's shown for the 20 years he's handled my legal affairs, though there's a new note of respect in his gaze. "Evelyn, right on time." He leads me to his office, where papers are already laid out on his desk. "I've prepared everything we discussed. The withdrawal of vendor payments has been processed, though I imagine you're already aware of the fallout." "I've been disconnected," I admit, "but I can imagine." "Well, regardless, that's handled. Now, about the house. My colleague Rebecca Chen is a real estate agent. She can have photographers there tomorrow and a listing up by Wednesday. Given the current market and your location, I anticipate significant interest." "How soon could it sell?" "With proper pricing? Weeks, not months, especially if you're willing to consider offers from developers. That neighborhood has seen a lot of renovation lately. The thought of my beloved home being torn down and replaced with something modern and impersonal gives me pause. Then I remember Carter and Lacey discussing gutting the kitchen, replacing the staircase James had lovingly restored, painting over the hand-stenciled border in what was once Lacey's room. "I'm open to all qualified offers," I say firmly. Tom nods, making a note. "Now, regarding your will. You mentioned establishing a nursing scholarship. I've drafted the basic framework here." He slides a document across the desk. The Evelyn and James Hart Memorial Scholarship would provide financial support to single parents pursuing nursing degrees at the local community college. Just as I'd worked my way through nursing school after James died, juggling classes and clinicals around Lacey's schedule. "It's perfect," I tell him, unexpected emotion tightening my throat. "There's something else I'd like to discuss," Tom says, his tone gentler now. "I've taken the liberty of researching some properties here in Cape May. Small cottages mainly, within your projected budget after the house sale. Nothing fancy, but solid investments in good neighborhoods." He shows me listings on his computer. Quaint cottages with small gardens, cozy condos with ocean views, even a tiny Victorian with a wraparound porch. Each one represents a life I've never allowed myself to imagine. A life built around my own preferences, not Lacey's needs or expectations. "They're all lovely," I say honestly, "but I think I need to resolve the current situation before making new plans." "Of course, but it doesn't hurt to look toward the future." Tom closes the browser and returns to business. "I'll need your signature on these forms to proceed with the house sale and will changes." My hand doesn't shake as I sign each document. With each signature, I feel a weight lifting. The burden of unreciprocated sacrifice, of unacknowledged loyalty, of love that had become obligatory rather than cherished. What happens now? I ask as Tom collects the papers. Now the wheels are in motion. He meets my eyes directly. The house listing will go live on Wednesday. The will changes are effective immediately. And Evelyn, when Lacey eventually confronts you, and she will, remember that you've done nothing wrong. You're simply making choices that prioritize your well-being over her expectations. As I leave Tom's office, my phone buzzes again in my purse. This time, I answer without checking the caller ID. Mom? Mom, is that you? Lacey's voice is shrill with panic and anger. Where have you been? Do you have any idea what happened at the wedding? The reception was a disaster. The bar shut down. The venue kicked everyone out at 11. The photographer left with all our photos. Carter's parents are furious. What did you do? The accusation in her tone, the assumption that I've deliberately sabotaged her rather than simply withdrawn my support, tells me everything I need to know about how she views me. I'm fine, Lacey. Thank you for asking. My voice remains calm, betraying none of the turmoil beneath. We need to talk, but not right now. I'll call you tomorrow. Tomorrow? Mom, you can't just... I end the call and turn off my phone again. Tomorrow will bring confrontation and accusations, demands, and recriminations. But for today, I've taken my first steps toward a life where I matter. Not just as Lacey's mother or James's widow, but as Evelyn Hart, a woman worthy of respect, including, finally, my own. The morning after my meeting with Tom, I wake to sunshine streaming through the inn's curtains. For a moment, I feel almost peaceful. Then my phone buzzes with an incoming call, shattering the brief tranquility. Lacey again, the 5th call in the past hour. This time I answer. Hello, Lacey. Mom, finally. Her voice carries the breathless indignation of someone who believes they've been gravely wronged. Where have you been? The wedding was a disaster. The brunch is in complete chaos. The post-wedding brunch, another expense I'd quietly covered with the understanding that I'd make the final payment this morning. In the emotional aftermath of yesterday, I'd almost forgotten. What's happening with the brunch? I ask, though I can guess. The caterer is refusing to serve without payment. Carter's parents are mortified. Everyone is standing around waiting while the staff packs up. It's humiliating. Her voice breaks. Mom, did you forget to pay them? Did something happen with your account? The assumption that this must be a mistake, that I couldn't possibly have withdrawn my financial support intentionally, speaks volumes. It wasn't a mistake, Lacey. My voice remains calm despite my racing heart. I chose not to make the final payments. Silence stretches between us then. You... What? Why would you do that? Confusion gives way to dawning anger. Mom, what's going on? Is this about leaving the wedding early? Were you upset about something? I think you know why. I take a deep breath. I overheard Carter at the photo session. I heard what he said about me. I saw you laugh. Another silence, this one heavier. When Lacey speaks again, her voice has shifted to a placating tone I recognize from childhood tantrums. Oh, Mom. Carter was just joking around. You know how he gets when he's had a few drinks? He didn't mean anything by it. And you? Were you just joking when you laughed? When you suggested I go check on the reception instead of standing with my family? You're blowing this completely out of proportion. Her voice rises with defensive anger. It was one stupid comment at a stressful time. And this is how you respond? By ruining our wedding, By embarrassing us in front of all our friends and Carter's family. There it is. The true concern. Not my feelings, but their image. I simply withdrew my support. I say quietly. Support you've taken for granted for years. This is insane. You need to fix this right now. Call the vendors. Tell them it was a mistake. I've got people at the brunch venue waiting. The entitled demand in her voice, so like Carter's, cuts through any lingering guilt I might have felt. No, Lacey. I won't be doing that. What? Mom, be reasonable. I've been reasonable for 24 years. I've worked extra shifts to pay for dance lessons and spring break trips. I've gone without new clothes or vacations so you could have more. I paid for half your wedding without recognition or thanks, while allowing you to pretend the Roberts were covering everything. My voice remained steady despite the emotion rising in my chest. But I won't fund my own humiliation. Not anymore. Mom, you're not thinking clearly. We can talk about this later, but right now I need you to call the caterer and... No. The single word hangs between us, its finality unmistakable. You've never said no to me before, she says, astonishment replacing anger. Perhaps that's been the problem all along. I can almost see her regrouping, switching tactics. Fine, I'll handle this myself. Carter will cover it for now, and you can reimburse us when you're thinking more rationally. That won't be possible. I take another deep breath. There's something else you should know. I've put the house on the market. What? The shriek is so loud I pull the phone away from my ear. You can't do that! That's our house! Carter and I are going to live there after... She stops herself, but the unspoken, after you die, hangs in the air between us. It's my house, Lacey. My name on the deed. My mortgage payments for the past 24 years. My decision to sell. This is about money? Is that it? You're punishing me because you're worried about your retirement? We would have taken care of you. You know that. The condescension in her tone, as if she's the parent and I'm an unreasonable child, confirms I'm making the right choice. This isn't about money. It's about respect. I'm surprised by how clear everything suddenly seems. I would have given you anything, Lacey. I nearly did. But I realized you and Carter don't value what you don't earn. You've lost your mind, she says flatly. I'm coming to see you right now. Where are you staying? No, Lacey. I need some time and space. I'll contact you when I'm ready to talk further. Mom, don't you dare hang up this phone. Mom! I end the call and immediately silence the ringer. Through the inn's window, I can see the ocean stretching toward the horizon, constant and ever-changing. Like me, the steady nurse, mother, and widow, now embracing transformation. My phone lights up with text messages. You can't sell the house. Carter's parents want to know what's wrong with you. People are leaving the brunch. This is a nightmare. Answer your phone. I set the phone aside and begin packing my few belongings. The inn is lovely, but I can't stay here. Lacey knows it's my usual place in Cape May. I'll need somewhere else until things settle down. As if on cue, there's a knock at my door. My heart stutters. Has Lacey somehow tracked me down already? But when I open it, Joan stands there with 2 takeout coffee cups. Thought you might need reinforcements, she says, handing me a coffee. How did the talk with Lacey go? About as expected. She's furious, entitled, convinced I'm having some sort of breakdown. Joan nods knowingly. And now you need to clear out before Hurricane Lacey makes landfall. Pack your bags. My spare room is waiting. Looking at my oldest friend, the person who has supported me unconditionally through widowhood, single motherhood, And now this painful rebirth. I feel a surge of gratitude so intense, it brings tears to my eyes. Joan, I can't impose? Impose? She waves a dismissive hand. After 30 years of friendship? Besides, I've been telling you to stand up for yourself for at least 20 of those years. I'm just thrilled you finally listened. As we drive away from the inn, I watch Cape May recede in the side mirror. Not goodbye, I think. Just a strategic retreat before the next advance. Joan's home is a cozy Cape Cod nestled in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from the beach. I've visited countless times over our 30-year friendship, but staying here feels different. I'm not a guest passing through, but a refugee seeking sanctuary. Guest room's all yours for as long as you need, Joan says, helping me carry my small suitcase inside. Though if this goes longer than 2 weeks, I'm putting you on bathroom cleaning duty. Her light tone belies the concern in her eyes. We both know this isn't a simple visit, but a major life upheaval. I should have a more permanent plan by then, I assure her, setting my bag on the neatly made guest bed. Tom says the house listing goes live tomorrow. How do you feel about that? Joan asks, sitting beside me. Conflicted, I admit. That house holds so many memories. James and I bringing baby Lacey home, her first steps in the kitchen, science projects spread across the dining room table. I twist my wedding ring, a habit when I'm troubled. But it also represents a future that was never going to happen the way I imagined. Carter and Lacey weren't planning to cherish it. They were planning to remodel it until nothing of James and me remained. Joan squeezes my hand. Some memories live in houses. The important ones live in hearts. The wisdom in her simple statement brings unexpected tears to my eyes. That evening we share a quiet dinner on Joan's patio, the setting sun casting long shadows across her flower beds. My phone, silenced but visible on the table, continues to light up with Lacey's calls and messages. Each one strengthens my resolve. You're going to have to talk to her eventually, Joan observes, pouring us each a glass of wine. I know, but not until I'm certain I won't weaken. You, weak, the woman who worked double shifts while raising a child alone, who finished nursing school while managing a household, who just walked away from her only daughter's wedding rather than accept disrespect. Joan shakes her head. I don't think weakness is your problem, Evelyn. Then why does this hurt so much? The question emerges before I can stop it, raw and honest. Because you're a mother. Because love doesn't just stop, even when it's betrayed. She meets my eyes directly. And because doing the right thing often hurts like hell. 3 days pass in relative peace. I sleep better than I have in years. Perhaps because the constant weight of Lacey's expectations has been temporarily lifted. Joan and I fall into an easy routine. Morning coffee on the patio, shared meals, evenings spent reading or watching old movies. I help in her garden, finding unexpected solace in the simple act of nurturing growing things. Tom calls with updates. The house listing went live as scheduled, with professional photographs showcasing the home I've maintained so carefully all these years. We've already had 6 inquiries, he reports, 2 of them very promising. Would you like to review offers as they come in, or shall I filter them first? Filter them, please. I'm not ready to face the reality of strangers evaluating every corner of my life. On the 4th day, the doorbell rings while Joan is at her book club. Through the peephole, I see Lacey and Carter standing on the porch, both looking grim and determined. My heart races, but I take a deep breath and open the door. Mom, Lacey says, her voice carefully controlled. We need to talk. She looks different. Hair pulled back severely, Dark circles under her eyes, none of the radiant bride left in her expression. Carter stands slightly behind her, his handsome face set in lines of annoyed inconvenience. "This isn't a good time," I reply, making no move to invite them in. "Not a good time?" Lacey's control slips. "You ruin our wedding, disappear without explanation, put our house on the market, and now it's not a good time." "Our house?" The possessive pronoun ignites a spark of anger. "That house has never been ours, Lacey. It has been mine, my responsibility, my asset, my home. You know what I mean. The house you always said would be mine someday. Things change. People change." I look directly at Carter, whose expression remains impassive. "Perspectives change." "Mom, please." Lacey modulates her tone, switching tactics. "Can we please come in and discuss this rationally? Like adults?" The implication that I'm being childish doesn't escape me. "Not today, Lacey. I'll call when I'm ready to talk." "This is ridiculous." Carter finally speaks, stepping forward. "Do you have any idea what you've put us through? The wedding was a complete disaster. My parents' friends were appalled. The brunch was canceled. We haven't even received our photos because the photographer's holding them hostage. I don't owe you an explanation, Carter." My voice remains steady despite my racing heart. "But I do have a question. Do you remember what you said about me at the wedding, during the family photos?" His expression flickers. Confusion, then realization, then dismissal. "Are you serious? This is all about some stupid joke? You've thrown this tantrum, embarrassed our entire family, because of a little comment. It wasn't just a comment. It was a revelation." I look at my daughter. "About how you both see me, about my place, or lack thereof, in your lives." "Mom, you're completely overreacting." Lacey's voice takes on the cajoling tone she used as a teenager when asking for car privileges. "Carter was just joking around. You know how guys can be. It didn't mean anything." "It meant everything, as did your laughter." The memory still stings, fresh and sharp. "And it wasn't an isolated incident, was it? It was just the first time I actually heard what you really think of me." "That's not fair. I've always respected you. I've always been grateful for what you've done for me." Grateful people don't laugh when their mothers are humiliated. The simple truth hangs between us. Respectful children don't sit by while their spouses mock their parents. Carter checks his watch impatiently. This is getting us nowhere. Evelyn, the fact is we need to resolve the house situation. We've already spoken to a real estate attorney who says we have grounds to challenge the sale. On what basis? I ask, genuinely curious. Undue influence, cognitive decline. There are options. The threat is clear, and so coldly delivered that I almost admire its efficiency. They're prepared to declare me incompetent, rather than accept my right to make my own decisions. If that's the path you choose to take, I suggest you consider the consequences carefully. I meet Carter's gaze directly. A legal battle would be public, messy. Your parents' friends might find the details appalling. A flash of uncertainty crosses his face. He's not used to opposition, especially from someone he considers irrelevant. Mom, it doesn't have to be like this. Lacey's voice breaks slightly. We can work this out. The house, the wedding, all of it. Just come home and we'll talk properly. I'm not coming home, Lacey. Not to that house. Not ever again. The finality in my voice surprises even me. And as for working things out, that would require understanding, accountability, and change. I don't see any of those things happening today. So that's it? You're just cutting me off because of one stupid incident. 24 years of being my mother, and you're done, because Carter made a thoughtless joke? No, Lacey, I'm not cutting you off. I'm simply setting boundaries I should have established long ago. I take a deep breath, and it wasn't just one incident. It was years of small dismissals, years of taking my sacrifices for granted, years of seeing me as a resource rather than a person. That's not true. I've always loved you. Tears fill her eyes now, genuine emotion breaking through her controlled facade. I know you love me, in your way. My voice softens slightly. But love without respect isn't enough. Not anymore. Carter places a hand on Lacey's shoulder. This is a waste of time. She's clearly not thinking rationally. He addresses me directly. We'll be in touch through our attorney, and I suggest you reconsider this path, Evelyn. It won't end well for anyone. Is that a threat, Carter? I ask calmly. It's a reality check. You can't just upend people's lives without consequences. The irony of his statement, coming from someone who casually upended mine with a cruel joke, would be amusing if it weren't so revealing. Goodbye, Carter. Lacey. I begin to close the door. Like I said, I'll call when I'm ready to talk. Mom, wait. Lacey starts, but I've already shut the door. Through the window, I watch them walk back to their car. Carter's posture rigid with anger, Lacey's shoulders slumped in defeat. I feel no triumph, only a profound sadness for what's been lost, or perhaps for the illusion of connection that was never as strong as I believed. When Joan returns an hour later, she finds me in the garden, methodically weeding a flower bed that doesn't need it. They came, she says. Not a question. Yes. How did it go? About as expected. Disbelief, anger, threats of legal action. I sit back on my heels, wiping soil from my hands. Carter implied they might try to have me declared incompetent. Joan's expression darkens. Over my dead body. Don't worry. Tom's prepared for that possibility. I look up at my oldest friend, the person who has stood by me through every life transition. I never thought it would come to this, having to legally defend my right to make my own decisions against my own daughter. Joan kneels beside me, heedless of her clean slacks. Listen to me, Evelyn. What you're doing isn't selfish or cruel or irrational. It's necessary. It's healthy. It's long overdue. I know. And I do know, with a certainty that transcends the pain. It's just not how I imagined my life at 66. Few things ever are. She helps me to my feet. Come on. I made a pitcher of martinis and we're going to drink them while plotting your glorious next chapter. As we head inside, my phone buzzes with a text from Tom. First offer on the house, full asking price, minimal contingencies. Interested? I type back a single word. Yes. The door to my past is closing. It's time to find out what lies beyond it. 6 weeks after the wedding, I stand in an empty house that's no longer mine. The closing was finalized yesterday. A young couple with 2 small children, excited to make this their forever home. They loved the hand-stenciled border in what was once Lacey's room. They admired the kitchen cabinets James had refinished by hand. They saw beauty in what Carter and Lacey had deemed outdated. Tom stands beside me as I take one final walk through the rooms. Are you sure you don't want to keep anything else? He asks gently. The movers could still come back. No, I say, looking around the empty living room where Christmas mornings and birthday parties once unfolded. I took what matters, the photos, James's books, my grandmother's china. The rest, furniture, appliances, garden tools, I sold or donated. A lifetime of belongings distilled to essentials that now fit in a small storage unit and Joan's guest room. It should feel devastating. Instead, I feel oddly liberated. The funds have been transferred to your account, Tom says, checking his phone. And the Scholarship Foundation paperwork is complete. The Evelyn and James Hart Memorial Scholarship will be awarded to its first recipient next fall. Pride warms me at the thought of helping another single parent through nursing school. Someone juggling studies and childcare, dreams and responsibilities, just as I once did. Thank you, Tom, for everything. My pleasure. He hesitates. Have you heard from Lacey since the confrontation at Jones? No. The silence has been both a relief and a heaviness. Carter's attorney sent a letter threatening legal action about the house sale, but nothing came of it. I suspect once they consulted with actual real estate lawyers, they realized they had no grounds to contest your decision. Tom's expression is professionally neutral, but satisfaction glimmers in his eyes. The sale was entirely legitimate, and your competence is well established. We lock the door for the last time, and I hand Tom the keys to give to the new owners. As we walk to our respective cars, he turns to me with unusual hesitation. I forgot to mention, I have those coastal property listings we discussed, if you're ready to look. For weeks I've been postponing this decision, living in Joan's guest room while figuring out my next steps. I think I am ready, I reply, surprising myself. Could we meet tomorrow to review them? He smiles. Absolutely. My office at 10? As I drive away from my old neighborhood for the final time, I feel a complex mixture of emotions. Grief for what's been lost, relief that it's finally over, anxiety about what comes next. The house grows smaller in my rearview mirror, until it's just another memory. Joan's kitchen smells of garlic and basil when I return. She's stirring a pot of sauce, a glass of red wine at her elbow. How'd it go? She asks, looking up from the stove. Better than expected. I pour myself a glass of wine and lean against the counter. It just felt like a house, not my life anymore. That's progress. She gestures toward a stack of mail on the counter. You got something from Lacey today. Actual letter, not lawyer correspondence. My heart stutters. After 6 weeks of silence, words from my daughter, written words, which suggests thought rather than impulsive anger. The envelope sits like a grenade among the utility bills and magazines. I'll read it later, I decide, placing it in my pocket. After dinner, we eat on the patio, enjoying the mild evening. Joan chatters about her book club's latest selection, her upcoming knee surgery, the neighbor's new puppy, normal everyday topics that ground me in the present rather than the tumultuous past or uncertain future. After dinner, I take a cup of tea to the guest room and finally open Lacey's letter. Her familiar handwriting brings an immediate lump to my throat. Mom, I've started this letter a dozen times over the past month. I kept tearing them up because none of the words seemed right. I'm still not sure these are the right ones, but I need to try. First, I want you to know that Carter and I have separated. It's been coming for a while, even before the wedding, but everything that happened after just made it impossible to ignore the problems anymore. The way he spoke about you wasn't an isolated incident. The way he speaks about many people, including me, when he's angry, comes from the same place of entitlement and cruelty. I should have seen it sooner. I should have defended you at the wedding. I understand now why you did what you did. I didn't at first. I was too shocked, too embarrassed, too angry. But as weeks passed and I really thought about it, I realized you were right about so many things. I had been taking you for granted. I had been allowing people to disrespect you. I had been defining our relationship by what you could give me, rather than who you are. The house being sold was a wake-up call. All those plans Carter and I made, assuming we'd inherit it someday, they weren't just presumptuous. They were disrespectful of your life and choices. I see that now. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I'm not even asking for a response. I just wanted you to know that I understand better now. And I'm sorry. Truly sorry. Not just for the wedding, but for years of small moments where I didn't appreciate you or stand up for you. If you ever want to talk, my door is open. If not, I understand. Either way, I hope you're finding some peace. Love, Lacey. I read the letter twice, tears blurring the words the second time through. Not tears of sadness, but of recognition. The first real connection with my daughter in years. Not perfect understanding, but a beginning. I set the letter aside without making any decisions about responding. That can wait. Tonight is about closing one chapter before opening another. The following morning, Tom shows me photos of coastal properties. One catches my eye immediately. A small cottage 3 blocks from the beach, with a garden in back and a front porch perfect for morning coffee. "It's at the upper end of your budget," Tom warns. "I want to see it." The certainty in my voice surprises us both. That afternoon, a real estate agent shows us through the cottage. It's smaller than my old house, but every inch feels right. The sunlit kitchen with ample counter space, the cozy living room with built-in bookshelves, the main bedroom with windows overlooking the garden. I can picture my few cherished possessions finding their places here. I can imagine Joan visiting for weekend getaways. I can see myself aging in this space, on my own terms. "I'll take it," I tell the agent, who seems startled by my decisiveness. "Don't you want to think about it?" Tom asks privately, as the agent makes a phone call in the next room. "Sleep on it at least." "I've slept on every major decision for the past 40 years, I reply. "This one I'm making while wide awake." 2 weeks later, I move into my new home. Joan helps, of course, directing the movers and unpacking kitchen essentials. By evening, enough is settled for us to sit on the porch with glasses of wine, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "To new beginnings," Joan toasts, clinking her glass against mine. "And old friendships," I add gratefully. After she leaves, I wander through the cottage, adjusting a picture frame here, a lamp there, making the space truly mine. On the refrigerator, I've placed Lacey's letter, held by a magnet from the hospital where I spent my nursing career. I'm not ready to respond yet, but I'm keeping the door open. Healing takes time. In the small second bedroom that will serve as my study, I've set up the desk that once belonged to James. On it sits a framed photo of us on our wedding day, young and hopeful, unaware of how brief our time together would be. Beside it, a more recent addition, a picture of Joan and me from last Christmas, laughing over ugly sweaters and too much eggnog. Family comes in many forms, I've learned. Some bound by blood, others by choice. Both valuable, both real. As I prepare for bed in my new home, I realize I haven't felt this peaceful in years. Perhaps since before James died, and I took on the weight of being both parents to Lacey. That weight has finally been set down. Not abandoned, but recognized as too heavy for any one person to carry indefinitely. In the morning, I'll plant herbs in the garden. Next week, I'll attend my first meeting as a volunteer at the local hospital. The following month, Joan will have her knee surgery, and I'll help during her recovery. Nurse turned, caretaker turned friend. Life continues to unfold in unexpected ways. The scholarship in James's and my name will help another single parent find their path. The young family in our old house will create their own memories within those walls. Lacey will find her way, with or without Carter, and perhaps someday with me in her life again. And I will live each day fully present in my own story, no longer a supporting character, but the protagonist of a life reclaimed. Standing on my new porch in the gathering darkness, I watch stars appear one by one above the distant ocean. At 66, I've begun again. Not despite my age, but because of it. Because decades of giving have taught me the true value of self-respect. Because years of sacrifice have shown me that dignity is not negotiable. Because a lifetime of love has proven that real connection requires mutual respect. The sea breeze carries the scent of salt and possibility. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new joys, new opportunities to live authentically. Tonight I am simply Evelyn Hart, not defined by motherhood or widowhood or obligation, but by choices made with clear eyes and an open heart. And that, I discover, is enough.